Hugh, Goldman Sachs just put out their 2013 economic outlook, and we are expecting another year of economic contraction in Europe. Why has economic growth in Europe been so weak, and why do we think it will remain so?
Well, I think our main view is that Europe entered the financial crisis in the last few years with a number of inherited problems. On the public sector side, too much government debt and weak fiscal balance sheets in general. On the private sector side, too much borrowing and excessive leverage on the private sector balance sheet. And there's a necessary adjustment to be made to those imbalances. So what we have seen over the past few years, and we expect to continue to see in 2013, is a process on the public sector side of fiscal consolidation and on the private sector side of deleveraging, both of which will weigh on spending in the economy, suppress aggregate demand, and ensure that growth is low. And unfortunately, growth from the rest of the world, external demand to the euro area, even though recovering in 2013, won't be growing strong enough to replace the weakness coming from these domestic sources.
But we've actually been revising down our European economic growth forecasts and now expect much weaker growth in 2013. In fact, contractionary growth for 2013, which is much weaker than we expected a year ago. What's really been driving those downward revisions?
Well, a year ago, we took the view that the deterioration in the euro area at a time when the crisis was reaching its peak and there was a real threat to the financial system in Europe coming from the fragmentation and dysfunctionality of financial markets, would create a sufficient economic and financial crisis that you would see enough political and economic pressure to make very deep, fundamental, institutional and structural changes to the European economy. On the one hand, the good news is that we avoided that cathartic crisis, in large part because the ECB stepped in at the beginning of this year with its three-year longer-term refinancing operations, and in mid-year with the new outright monetary transactions program identified by Mr. Draghi in London just before the Olympics. And those two measures